Random Wrestling Belt Facts number 100, and today I'm going to be doing a full deep dive into all 5 variations of the Big Eagle Championship belt, giving you information regarding their debut, when they last appeared on television, and of course the designs themselves and how they differ from one another, both the obvious ones and the more subtle differences. So the block logo Blue Big Eagle Championship, or Blue Big Eagle for short, debuted the night after WrestleMania 14 when Vince McMahon sauntered to the ring with the championship over his shoulder, announcing the new World Wrestling Federation champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin. As Austin made his way to the ring, he was carrying the final championship that Reggie Parks would make for the Federation in the form of the Winged Eagle, which debuted just a few months prior to this belt's retirement. He unceremoniously dumped the belt on Vince McMahon's foot and then took possession of the Blue Big Eagle, posing for the crowd. Now, this Big Eagle is probably the most vastly different from the other variations. First and foremost, it of course comes on a bright blue strap with a brown croc backing. It is the only variation to feature the block WWF logo. Here you see it on the main plate with the blue painted background to complement the blue strap. This championship also features nugget texturing inside of the winged areas that you see here, just above the primaries. I guess you could call these the Eagle's shoulders, I guess. And then, of course, you've got the sidebars that are featured on all the Big Eagle belts, but unlike the other variations on the Blue Big Eagle, these sidebars are actually cut out, exposing the leather underneath, similar to the Winged Eagle Championship. All the later versions had this area actually painted in, as this proved to be a challenge with a somewhat big design flaw in that it was very fragile, and by the end of the Blue Big Eagle's retirement, one of these areas of the sidebar had actually broken completely off. Now, the other variations would look very similar in regards to this belt. They'd all feature the large globe in the middle with the Big Eagle above it sitting atop the globe. They'd all have the World Wrestling Federation banner, the champion banner. They'd have Seculum Campio written on either side of the champion banner, which translates from Latin to Century Champion. They'd all have lion side plates on the inner side plates, accompanied by a shield on the left reading World Wrestling Federation's logo, and on the right featuring the McMahon family crest. And on the outer side plates, there would be a WWF logo in the center of a shield that was nugget textured in the background. They'd also all feature a logo plate, although these differed from variation to variation, which I'll talk about in a moment. This belt would be retired on July 27th, 1998 on an episode of Raw, when Stone Cold Steve Austin appeared on television with his new Smoking Skull Championship. The version 2 of the Big Eagle wouldn't debut until that November on the Sunday Night Heat before Survivor Series 1998, the Deadly Game Tournament. This new variation featured a black leather strap with a black backing. It now featured black behind the new scratch WWF logo on the main plate. Now, the logo itself is actually painted black inside of the WWF lettering, but with the way that arena lights work and certain images that were released with promo pictures, it would often appear gold based on the acid etching and the glistening from the etch markings on the logo, which is why it's often referred to as the gold scratch logo, because that's what it looked like, although there was black within the logo itself. This belt also featured the nugget texturing on the Eagle's wings on the left and the right. It featured now black scratch painted WWF logos on the side plates. It featured black scratch WWF logos with the red swoosh underneath on the outer side plates, and it had a new logo plate that was vastly different from the original. It was now more rectangular, featured the WWF logo in the center, and at the bottom it read JMAR, presumably 98, as that was the year. However, there have never been any solid images to show this, but common sense dictates that based on the year it would say 98, whereas others would read 99 and 2K. This belt, like the blue variation, also had large camouflage shell tooling around the strap that is most commonly associated with Reggie Parks. It, like all the versions of the Big Eagle, also featured this light pebble crosshatch tooling around and inside of the snap boxes, but this was very hard to actually pick up on television and in most shots they did look like they were untooled, but that was not the case. Many years ago, Mick Foley made mention of auctioning off a genuine WWF Championship belt in order to help Sabu with some medical bills that he was paying at the time. I do believe that it was the version 2 Big Eagle that he auctioned off. However, that is unconfirmed at this time. The version 3 debuted the night after SummerSlam 1999, where, the night before, Mankind captured the WWF Championship, pinning Steve Austin in a triple threat match that also involved Triple H. While he held up the Smoking Skull Championship in victory at the pay-per-view, the next night on Raw he came out with the version 3 of the Big Eagle. This variation plate-wise was very similar to the version 2. You still had the black painted logo on the main plate and the side plates. However, the hand texturing was now removed from the Eagle's wings, and the logo plate was slightly different in that it now read JMAR 99. The biggest difference with this belt was actually the strap, as it no longer featured shell tooling, but now had WWF logo tooling going from one end of the strap to the other until it reached the snap boxes. The backing was also different, as it was now a beautiful blue suede backing rather than your traditional black leather. Much like each of the Big Eagles up until this point, it was only on television for a short period of time, as it was retired only 5 months after its debut. It showed significant wear and tear during this period, much like the blue Big Eagle, where the version 1 appeared nearly black on television even though the strap was originally blue, due to the amount of sweat, baby oil, beer and blood, thank you Kane, was spilled on the strap. Similarly, the beautiful blue suede backing on the version 3 was a dark, dirty, murky grey by the time it was retired. The version 4, or the white scratch logo Big Eagle, would debut on January 31st, 2000. As the name implies, the main difference here is the fact that the logos were now painted white and popped significantly better than the gold/black variations. You had the white scratch logo now on the main plate, the side plates, and the logo plate. The logo plate also went through a significant change here, as the background of the logo plate was now painted black to give a good contrast to the white scratch of the logo, making it pop more significantly on television and more noticeable. And much like the version 3, this belt also had the WWF logo tooling going from one end of the strap to the other, and had the crosshatch shallow bevel tooling in the snap boxes as well, along with a black leather backing. This is the exact belt that I was showing recently in my TikTok videos. This belt would continue to be used until June 4th of 2001, about a year and a half later. In a backstage segment, Stone Cold could be seen with a new variation of the white WWF Scratch Big Eagle belt, this being the version 5. This belt is identical to the version 4, with the only noticeable difference being that the snap setting had changed. Whereas the version 4 belt, you had a 2x6 female snap set and a 2x8 male snap set. The new version 5 had a 2x5 female snap set and a 2x8 male snap set. This belt would eventually be retired in April of 2002, along with the all gold cast of the big gold belt, in favour of the undisputed World Wrestling Federation Championship. So there you have it, guys, a full breakdown of each of the versions of the Big Eagle, from the version 1, the blue Big Eagle, the version 2, the original scratch gold and black Big Eagle, the version 3, the gold and black Big Eagle with the WWF logo tooling, the version 4, the iconic white scratch logo, and the version 5, basically the version 4 with a different snap set. Now, this is a slightly abridged detailing of the championships. If you want a more in-depth discussion and analysis of each of these versions, please go and check out my history of the WWE Championship on YouTube. It is a near 2-hour mini documentary on every variation of the WWE Championship from its inception in 1963 all the way through to the modern day big logo belts, where I talk about each of the differing designs, leather cuts, styles, etc. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have any belts you'd like me to discuss or drop belt facts about, drop them in the comments.